What up, though, everyone? Welcome back to the Honoring Me, My Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Rochelle. So happy to be here making this video to talk to everyone again. This is the Grace Haven. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here to I'm here. So you're saying we, but anyway, I'm here to share my personal experiences, my personal journey and thoughts on, you know, being in survival mode, coming out of survival mode, and those daily intentional steps to stay out of survival mode. It is truly a daily put, one foot in front of the other, you know, effort every single day. Similar to us who are on spiritual journey and the Bible telling us that we have to die to ourselves every day because it's so easy to get back into, bad habits. And when I say bad habits, I'm talking about habits that is not growing us, habits that are not a part of our, destiny, our purpose and things of that nature, things that's keeping us stagnant, like I said, not growing us. So we ain't got time for that. So these are conversations over coffee or wine or whatever you want to pull up with, is what I like to say. Today we keeping it simple. I have my water today, so nice little spring water. So anyhow, what I would like to talk about today, I really have um, planned out. When I say planned out, I like to be raw and uncut, so I don't like scripted. So when I say planned out, I'm speaking of maybe topics that I want to, address or speak on. And I had it for today to be the 15-minute firewall. Those things that we need to do every day to pull us, into a space where we are living until we can fully, get out of survival mode. And for me, I shared it with the last episode that for me, I didn't even realize I was in survival mode. So when I say that I'm a recovering survival mode queen, I am a recovering survival mode queen. And that's an ongoing thing. But my goal, my prayer, wish, whatever you want to call it, is to at least get one person to recognize that they're in survival mode, been living in survival mode, and they take the steps to come out of it because they're listening to what I have to share, the things that have kept me, like I shared with the last episode, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. That's scripture, John 10, chapter 10, verse 10, I believe, that I shared last, episode or whatnot. And it's so true. The enemy does come to kill, steal, and destroy. And I'm very much a spiritual person. This podcast is for all people with all faiths, all levels of faith. And I don't want anyone to be turned around because you feel that I'm trying to push my faith on you, because that's not what it is. But I will be very clear and very honest about who I believe in, who I have faith in, what I'm doing to maintain my recovering survival mode queen status. Okay, so with that being said, whatever you have to do, whoever you need to, seek your guidance from, whether it's a therapist, whether you are a believer and lover of Christ like myself, or you have a different denomination. That is not what this is about. It's not my concern. Everyone have to, stand an account for themselves. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. So for me in my house, we love the Lord. So for me, a lot of my growth and me recognizing that I was living in survival mode came from my relationship with Christ. Okay. And it took my life to get quiet, for me to even recognize it. And a lot of our lives got quiet when the pandemic hit, right? So, not until, let me see, like I shared before, it started because I was off work for a medical procedure. I have carpal tunnel and I was experiencing it for a very long time. Just for a little quick synopsis of, my journey with that. I was dealing with it, diagnosed with it with my very first child. Um, so that would have been in 99, 98, 99, because I was still pregnant. So one of those, years, that I was actually told that the pain that I was experiencing was, carpal tunnel. But they said the pregnancy has can bring that on and whatnot. But I was still having it after I had my first child. So anyway, we rolled, 20 plus years later. I'm still having this pain, and I've spoken to the doctor about it multiple times. But these inconclusive tests, didn't have the physicians doing anything. So let this be a example for you, which I'm going off topic real quick, but let it be an example for you that you fight for yourself when it comes to these medical professionals, because I have walked out of doctors' offices, I've argued with doctors, I have had a lot of issues when it comes to healthcare professionals, unfortunately, because they don't want to hear you. And if you're like me, black woman, it's a lot of things that, they just stereotype. You're in pain, they think you want medicine. you know they think that we have a very high threshold for pain and things of that nature, but we can get into all that another time. But my point is, me being off for carpal tunnel, supposed to have been just a simple, procedure, get me back to work in, 8 weeks or whatever. I've been off ever since. And it's because of, once one nerve compression procedure was done, it just kept revealing more nerve compression. So it was just like one day my hand just fell flat on the keyboard. I couldn't move it, couldn't lift it or anything like that. And so once they did that, they found the nerve compression in the elbow, then up to the neck and the back, just a whole bunch of craziness or whatever. So with that being said, it wasn't just the pandemic that got my life a little, quiet, so to speak. It was also being off of work that also got me quiet, and I just started realizing, certain things, and I literally had that aha moment, and it was like a cloud of depression that just, kind of fell on me. Not depression where I wallowed in that depression. It was just a depressive thought, like, oh my gosh, girl, you haven't lived. Like, you've been doing this life as a robot for so long. I literally didn't know what to do with my time, and it's like I had to reintroduce myself even to myself, because, I'm living for children. I'm, working to live and not, what's the saying? I always get the sayings bad. It's working, no, living to work and not working to live. Whatever, however it goes, I'm sure somebody gets me. Okay, but my point is that I was doing that daily routine. I have to work because somebody got to take care of them babies, pay these bills, things of that nature. So that just came, you know that was just part of the daily flow. Doing what you're supposed to do for your children, just part of the daily flow. So when that flow calmed down, I'm like, wow, you just start reintroducing yourself, getting to know yourself a little bit better, because you haven't had the time to do it. And I don't want that for anyone, not reaching my age that I'm very blessed and thankful to be at, and looking forward to the years to come. But to reach this blessed age and realize that you haven't lived life. You know, for me, it was a depressing moment. So I don't want that for anyone else. I want to get people to recognize those steps. So if you haven't watched episode one, go back, watch episode one. I shared some things, you know, and the I'm going to go off my scheduled, I guess, topic. Like I said, I want to talk about the things that 15-minute firewall, and that 15-minute firewall is taking at least a minimum of 15 minutes every day. Whether it doesn't matter how many times a day that you do it, but if you have that up early, down late type of day, you have to take 15 minutes for yourself. Take deep breaths, have a glass of wine, um, write in your journal. You can just think about something, work on your own personal goals and just take the moment for yourself. I don't want to say that I took, um, 15 minutes. I think mine was more like an hour when I had very, very long days. Some days I couldn't do it. So maybe that's why I took an hour, because I couldn't do it every single day, that I would take an hour those very long weeks. I mean, every Friday for sure, I had to just decompress. Okay. And I believe that that definitely helps us to not be as pop offish, you know, if we can, take a moment and just, be with ourselves and kind of disassociate yourself from the reality. Someone's, pissing you off, or a situation with the bill or whatever. We've all been there. Okay. So survival mode is not just the, hard to make ends meet and things of that nature. It's so much more than that. And that's something that I didn't even realize. And as I'm learning, I'm sharing with you so you can have that, you know, um, aha moment for yourself, so you can come out of it. Because what I don't want is for our definitely don't want our health to be affected. I've already had some things that I recognize have affected, my health from, being in survival mode. And yeah, we're not gonna do that. Your sleep can be affected. Have you ever been trying to go to sleep and just been laying there for hours and just couldn't sleep? Those are issues. It's digestive issues. It's a memory thing. It's so many things. I don't have the list. I was reading off of the Google AI overview last week, but I don't have that in front of me now because I remember the things that it stated for myself. But if you go back and read, not read, but watch episode one, you'll see it, and be able to, you know, see if any of those things, relate to you, and then you can start, just kind of do, daily steps to readjust things in your life so you can live. Yeah, live. I was about to say live more freely, but just live, because like I said, I wasn't living. So who wants to do that? I mean, I definitely didn't, but, here we are. And I believe that the Lord is going to restore those years that I was out here living in survival mode. And I believe the same thing could happen to you. And if you never identified yourself, your life being in survival mode, and you don't feel that you are, awesome. That's great. This space, which again is called the Grace Haven, is for all of us to come together and share our experiences, learn from one another. Because I bet a lot of you all may be experiencing something with the carpal tunnel-ish type of, issues, and don't even know about it. I know you heard of it most likely, but if you haven't, send me an email. Let me know. I will tell you everything, because what I will also say, not just being proactive in your health and making sure the doctors hear you with any and everything you may be going through, My background was in healthcare. My background was in healthcare, you know, the billing and all of that stuff. So homegirl knows a lot. Okay. So haven't been in the industry for a little bit, you know, a few years, but it ain't changed. So it's just certain things that we know that we can share and help someone else. So that's the, you know, biggest thing for me. It's not just, although I started off speaking on survival mode, and that is what um prompted the whole podcast and everything, but it really is a community of people that is just doing their best every day to live in their purpose, to, you know, grow, be better than we were yesterday, right? And to, when we reach a certain level, it's not just a certain success level where we, you know, reach back and pull somebody with us. It's when we grow to a certain level of you know, certain level spiritually, maturity, and things of that nature. We should be, you know, reaching back and pulling people with us. So it's certain things that we all can learn from one another. And we're the grace haven because we all need grace. We all need grace. It's things I'm not proud of that I may have done in my life, you know, maybe my um response to things or whatever, but we all need grace to, you know, forgive ourselves or forgive other people that may have done things that still have us in uh, a bitter state or a untrusting state, and you know, things of that nature. So this is what we're all about. But like I said, I shared some of the things for the 15-minute firewall. You have to take time for yourself. You have to breathe in, breathe out, just kind of decompress, have those moments. Let your household know that, you know, if you were like me, it was times that I was working 2 jobs. I didn't have time for anything, okay, for myself. And I had to leave one job, go grab my children from multiple different places because I had different age children and it was different schools as well. Um, and then, you know, get them dropped off at home and do as much as I can to take off of my oldest child, you know, as far as meals and setting them up for the night. And then I went out. I had to leave right back out. Probably had 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops, if that, to be at home. Some days it was probably run in, set something up or change or whatever, and had to run right back out and didn't get back until basically the next morning and had to get up in a few hours and start all over again. So how in a schedule like that can you find time to just decompress and just kind of, you know, separate yourself from the things that's going on around you? It doesn't matter if you at work and you have to go on a extended bathroom break. If you had to take a walk around your building, if you had to go sit in your car, you have to take those moments, because if you don't, if your life and schedule was anything like mine, you know, I described it to some extent, but not in its entirety. I haven't shared everything, of course, but with those things that I have shared, it can be days that you do um, can allow things to, you can be more sensitive to some things, or you can, you know, I don't like using like breakdown or whatever, but I have, you know, just burst into tears one day when I had went and sat in my car, and it was just a lot. I don't even recall everything that was going on at that time, but it was seemed to have always been something, right? So anyhow, the other thing I wanted to talk about was, and the reason why I'm not going deep into the whole 15-minute firewall, I think it's, you know, more or less explains itself, but I do want to stress how important it is to take those 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if it's a multiple 15 minutes, if it's 8 minutes and then 7 minutes, however you want to do it, but you owe yourself a moment to get away and just kind of release yourself from those things that's going on around you. And take it as many times as you need. And I believe that helps you to, kind of recenter yourself and pull you out of that fight or flight mode. And it will allow you to, I believe it will allow you to take the time to think things through, opposed to reacting, opposed to doing things out of desperation. Because if you have situations that you feel like you have to make a quick decision about, if you make that quick decision without even taking a moment, and that's in, like everything. It's not just because you're in survival mode. It can be you're an entrepreneur. It can be that you're a parent. A child say something slick to you. You got to step back and, to not react and explode, have the situation become more explosive. And trust me, I have a child that was very challenging for me with their mouth and things of that nature. So, yes, I when I say I know that you have to take a step back sometimes. And like I said, it's things that I'm not proud of, because there's some days that it was just so much that I'm like, you popping off to me like I'm somebody in the street, I'm about to come back at you type of thing. Not the proudest moment, but that's what I'm talking about. We gotta, take a step back sometimes, and we don't always do that. And if I know if I didn't do it, it's other people out there that didn't do it too. It doesn't matter if I was more, you was more, it doesn't even matter. The fact is, we need not do that. So it's just coming into a better sense of, ourselves, a better sense of, how to, interact with other people. It's so much to it, right? So the reason why I'm kind of shifting gears right now is because I was on a Zoom call this past week, and it was very heartbreaking to hear the type of questions people were asking and saying how they feel stuck, they have no no sense of self, and don't know what to do, don't know how to do certain things, don't, just, I guess, feeling hopeless. And, the questions was, well, how do you do it? How do you pray? And I'm like, someone asking, how do you pray? How do you do it? How do you stay motivated? How do you handle hardships? And this was not a podcast, but a Zoom call with someone that's really into deep into business, have a multi-million-dollar business and things of that nature. And the call was for it's kind of like a growth, just taking steps to grow and building a community as well. And I was just like, wow, this podcast that I started is definitely a reason that God laid that on me, because it's so many people out here that just are unaware of how good God is, or believe in God but don't know God, or think they know God and don't know God. And I would say it to anybody. I say it all the time within my family. If you really want to know who you are, you have to tap into Christ. And that's if you really want to know who you are. So, and again, I can only say what I know. This is what I know. This is my experience. I was revealed certain things about myself. I was reintroduced to myself through, my reading scripture and me praying and me fasting and things of that nature. So although I will not be forcing my beliefs and faith on anyone, I would encourage anyone who don't know who God is, Christ is, to tap into him. If you're ever been interested, tap into him. I will say that we all, regardless of what your faith is, again, because I have to make it very clear of what my faith is, who my faith is in, and that is Jesus Christ, okay? But if you have another spiritual high power that you pray to, trust and believe that you're gonna need it, period. Because life be life and for a reason, and we do have trials and tribulations. And if you don't want to always have to spin out because something comes up unexpectedly, and the self-sabotaging or doing things in desperation that actually makes the damn situation worse. Have you done that? Because I know I have. And a lot of times when I did that, I'm listening to people that I felt had a little bit more life lived than myself, and taking suggestions opposed to going to Christ, who will direct me. And like I said, that's what I had to learn for myself. I had to learn and build a relationship with Christ myself, and not just go off what my mama said. And my mama was a true lover of Christ too, but I couldn't just go off what she said. I had to learn and experience him for myself. And I did, and I am. And so one of my other bigger purposes or prayers for this podcast is to also shed light on truly who Christ is, for people to know and understand that just like I'm talking to you, that's how you talk to him. You learn more about him, of course, by reading scripture. But I don't want people to continue to believe that they can't go and build a relationship with Christ because you got to be holier than thou, because that is not me and never will be me. And that's not who Christ is, okay? That's not who he is either. And it's so much out here that will have you thinking that God isn't good, for instance, the state of this world and things of that nature. But if you read the Bible, you will see that certain things have to come to pass. But at the end of the day, evil, wrongdoing will never prevail at all. So that's the peace, that's the joy that comes when you tap in, with Christ. So with that being said, I think I, talked about everything that I wanted to talk about for the most part. We love doing it raw and uncut, but at the same time, I wanted to get into that point of my heart going out to people who feel that there's no hope or there's no community. I know how it is not to have a support system. I know how it is to be by myself but not lonely. And so if you're by yourself, or if you don't have a support system, this is what this community is for. I'm pouring into people what I wish I had at every age level. So that sisterhood, that just come and talk and kick it, what's up though, type of vibe, just truly just laid back and chill. And I want what's best for everyone. I want what's best for myself. I want everyone to not be in a state of just existing. that's what it was for me. I was just existing. I was just there. And clearly that resonated or was noticeable to other people, because, when you get into a state where you're just existing and you're not even doing the things that you should be doing and even want to do for yourself, I think people just kind of notice that, and they kind of get away and take advantage of that, because it's certain things that I just was not hip to, so to speak. And it would take me, I hate to say days, that may be exaggerating a little bit, but it would take a minute for me to realize that, it was some shade, or, some, disrespect or whatever. And so I don't, I'm very observant when I'm in a certain situation or a certain environment and things of that nature. I am very observant with people, how they move, what they say. But it's also times that, although I'm observant, I'm paying attention and I hear certain things. It just didn't click at the moment because I wasn't like really present, physically there, but not like really there. So I don't know what that whole delayed, memory thing was all about. Or I'm learning too. So with that being said, just to chat it up and have some more conversations later, as I'm learning this process, because this is new for me as well. So as I'm learning, I will eventually get to every week. I'm wanting to do it every week, but I have to get a grip of a whole bunch of different things. It's balancing a few things here right now. But anyhow, I thank you for listening this far. I'm praying that you stay hungry, okay, for honoring yourself, taking those daily steps to, be intentional, taking back those things that the enemy, came to kill, steal, and destroy. So if you've been putting your goals on the back burner, getting back to school, starting that business, finding a different job, whatever it is that you have been neglecting, because that's part of, being in survival mode. You're totally neglecting yourself. And I have neglected myself for decades. And I have to make that decision to do better for myself. And it's still a process because I've gotten so used to not taking care of myself. And yeah, we can't have that. So stay hungry for your evolution. Stay hungry for those intentional steps. Come back for the next one. Can't wait again to read the emails. Send them in. All of that information will be in the description box. Oh my gosh. And of course, like and subscribe. Follow us on IG. Connect with us so we can come in, if it's something you want to know, something you want to talk about, see if it's something that I've experienced or I have any knowledge about, just send it in the email, and see you next time.